All right, now we're gonna get a progressive after my own heart. She accused her corporate Democratic opponent of having soft hands. I can't love that enough. All right, Jamie McLeod-Skinner, she's running a primary against Kurt Schrader in Oregon, OR-5. The primary is coming up in a couple of weeks. This one is super important because it's such a good contrast between a progressive and a corporate Democrat. And she has an excellent chance of winning. So there's two reasons why it's really important. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. And thanks for all you do for getting the word out and letting people know about the important progressive values we're trying to get across the finish line.
All right, that's wonderful. So I'm gonna start with your opponent. Kurt Schrader's a longtime Democrat. He's one of the most conservative Democrats in Congress. For people unfamiliar with him, why? Well, what does he do that's so conservative or corporate?
Well, if you ask people who've even supported him in the past, they'll say simply that he's lost touch. He doesn't deliver for Oregonians and he's lost touch. He is a 25-year politician, a multimillionaire. He's actually an heir from a big pharma heir. He's got 4 houses throughout the country and spends most of his time living in his house in Maryland while Oregonians are struggling to get by. He's taken over $8 million in corporate PAC money, and it's been pay to play. So he's taken $700,000 from big pharma, and then voted against lowering prescription drug prices. He's taken over $300,000 from big oil and gas, and stripped out climate protections and green energy protections from the infrastructure bill while our homes are burning in Oregon. It's just really egregious. He's voted against the American Rescue Plan, stimulus checks, raising the minimum wage, even against the right to organize for working people until they showed up and protested and got him to change his vote on the PRO Act.
So I want to come back to lowering drug prices because I think that's one of the most egregious things that he did. But the corporate Democrats say, but look, that's not fair. They vote with the Democratic Party generally anyway, and they're opposed to the Republicans. But was he really opposed to Donald Trump?
Well, back in after the insurrection on January 6th, he was actually, I believe, the lone Democrat to argue against impeaching Trump and said impeaching Trump would be like lynching him. When it comes to prescription drug prices, he was the deciding vote. That September 15th, it was in committee, but it was preventing it from moving forward. Kurt Schrader was the deciding vote against lowering prescription drug prices. And I can tell you, I talked to just the other day, talked to a grandfather who's really worried about his grandson getting an EpiPen and not being able to afford it because of having allergies. And it's folks like Kurt Schrader who have voted against lowering prescription drug prices and then also blocked things from moving forward. He's made excuses for why he's voted the way he did and his vote against it. But the fact of the matter is, you go on to CVS or Walgreens right now, and those drug prices are still high.
Okay, so first of all, holding Trump accountable, if you call that a lynching, are you really a Democrat? Jesus, that is the lowest bar there is to just oppose Donald Trump. And he couldn't clear that bar. Yet still corporate Democrats are on his side. It's disgusting. But on the drug prices, I know for a fact, we cover the stories every time there was any effort to lower drug prices, even by the smallest amount for the smallest number of drugs, Kurt Schrader would be the #1 opponent. And Jamie, how hurtful is that? Because it's not just a vote. What I've seen is it defangs all the other Democrats, because then they are worried about criticizing their freaking colleague, Kurt Schrader. So they let him bury all those bills that might actually help the American people.
Well, it's hurting in so many ways. Democrats right now are facing stiff competition and threats of losing the House in November because of corporate Democrats like Kurt Schrader, who have essentially gutted and undermined not just the president's agenda, but Build Back Better was the agenda for all Americans to get us through, get us back on our feet after the devastating impacts of the COVID economy. And he got in the way of that. That's not just Democrats who he's hurting. When I talk to independents and even Republicans across the district, there's a frustration that there's been a falling short of the promises made and a falling short of the opportunity to be able to move forward on so many issues and so many things that people need. But lowering prescription drug prices.
No, this is why I get so frustrated with progressives in Congress, because I mean, if you can't call out Kurt Schrader, you can't do anything. The guy that lowering drug prices polls at over 90% in the country, not among Democrats, among the entire country. And Kurt Schrader is the #1 reason why the Democrats won't do it. But other Democrats are like, oh my God, no, we can't criticize a fellow Democrat. Good news, if Jamie's the new representative in that district, they won't have to. By the way, JamieForOregon.com, she's not taking corporate PAC money. He's taking nothing but corporate PAC money. So grassroots makes all the difference here. Okay, now let's talk about endorsements. Jamie, who are some of your top endorsers?
Well, Oregonians. So I've got over 70 elected officials throughout the state. I've got all sorts of labor unions who are endorsing, and it's essentially the people who got us through COVID. It's teachers and nurses and grocery clerks and longshoremen, the front line of folks who really carried us through COVID. And we're depending on us moving forward on this Build Back Better agenda. We've got newspapers, regional newspapers throughout the district. Just got a Portland paper today. Another paper, we had Bend papers and Willamette Week as well. And this has never happened in Oregon before, but 4 of the county Democratic parties. So not just here in Central Oregon, not just Deschutes County and Lynn County and Marion County, but even Clackamas County, which is Kurt Schrader's home county. The county Democratic parties have voted overwhelmingly to endorse me in this race. And it's just because there's an opportunity to replace them. We've got a newly drawn district, over half it's new, and Oregonians just want to see him go.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting phenomenon that isn't just about Oregon. So there's like a state rebellion against the National Democratic Party. After the Progressive Caucus didn't back Nina Turner, the state caucuses got together, Progressive Caucus in the states, and said, we're backing Nina Turner. The Cleveland Plain Dealer endorsed Nina Turner. Now take that and multiply it by a couple of folds for Jamie, because it is a full-blown rebellion in Oregon. The state Democrats, not just state progressives, but state Democrats are saying no to Schrader. No, we're not going to. We don't care what national Democrats think. We live here. We're voting Jamie McLeod-Skinner, and so both the papers, the like you said, just the unions, the county officials. I've never seen anything like it. So it is. I love that rebellion, and it is super strong in Oregon. Have I mentioned JamieForOregon.com? And so Jamie, but now let's talk about those national Democrats. Who are some of his top endorsers?
Well, he's got a lot of corporate PAC support. The president recently endorsed him, which we were very disappointed to see, because with all due respect to the president, he just got that wrong. I'll say on the national level, I also want to mention Senator Elizabeth Warren also stepped up and endorsed me, was really proud of that. National Organization for Women, a lot of progressive organizations have endorsed me.
Having said that, that's why, Jamie, this is going to be such an important election. Is the state rebellion going to work, or is the national Democrats backed up by national media going to win again? Because the way the national media works is they go, oh, well, Biden has endorsed someone, it's over. Everybody bow their heads. No one's allowed to disagree. I didn't realize that was the spirit of the Democratic Party. And so give me an update from the local press a little bit and the media overall, because usually the media is the top opponent of progressives in these races.
No, well, they've been pushing back. Again, I've gotten endorsements from newspapers across the regional newspapers across the district. And actually the Bend Bulletin, the paper for the Central Oregon, doesn't even recognize Kurt as an incumbent. They say this is an open seat because over half of it's new. We're winning on the ground, and that's why we're seeing even more corporate PAC money flooding in to try to prevent us from winning. And this is where people can really step up across the country and help us out. 80% of my support comes from donations, comes from Oregonians, only 8% for Kurt. He's been heavily supported by corporate PACs who are out of state. And I don't take corporate PAC money, as you said. This is about people and representing people in Congress and balancing out, making sure we're pushing back on that. So, folks can help out, like you mentioned, JamieForOregon.com. This is a great opportunity. Ballots have already dropped. We're a vote by mail state, so people are voting now. And the election is May 17th. And so this is a critical time for one last push to balance out. It's a David and Goliath race in terms of the airwaves, But people are pushing back. Oregonians are pushing back. Oregonians want to decide in this election. And so folks across the country can really help us keep the national influence out so we can decide our nominee and then win this in November.
So last quick question, of all the corporate PACs, which one is doing the most damage? Because in some it's crypto bros, some it's oil, some it's banking, drug companies, et cetera. Who's supporting them the most there?
It's Big Pharma, and he's their guy. I mean, he was a deciding vote against lowering prescription drug prices. They're afraid of losing him because they will be held accountable. It's not that they're not going to make a profit. It's just they will make a fair profit and stop gouging us. And so that's all we want to do. But Big Pharma is stepping in, over 700,000 they've given him, and they just dumped a bunch more money in to try to do a last push and start hitting me on stuff. So if people can help out, that's great, because Oregonians want to see a representative who's going to look out after the needs of working people, of seniors, of students. That's what we're all about. And any help people can provide be appreciated.
Yeah, guys, if you like higher drug prices, Kurt Schrader is your guy. If you want to lower drug prices, Jamie McLeod-Skinner is going to fight like hell to make that happen. And just getting rid of Kurt Schrader from Congress would be a giant help to lowering drug prices. Look, you guys see me interview, dozens, if not hundreds of progressives. Especially on the issue of drug prices, there is no more important race than this. So JamieForOregon.com, Jamie McLeod-Skinner, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for all you're doing. Really appreciate it.
No problem.